I am offended. I am insulted. I'm not one to get put off easily, but this just stinks. You'll remember a couple weeks ago we received this email from corporate communications. Good morning. Tomorrow we expect a public demonstration regarding healthcare reform outside our Court Street offices beginning at noon. This protest is directed at Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield. This is similar to the protests at Court Street and at the Salina Street facility in November. The same group also protested at MVP's offices on Alexander Street last fall. We expect this to be a peaceful protest. At previous protests, however, demonstrators have sought arrest to make their point and garner media attention. We are taking steps to ensure security tomorrow. These kinds of protests have taken place across the nation, and we support all Americans' right to freedom of speech. So how many protesters did they have? 5. Count them. 5 lonely, boring individuals. Now, what is up with America that we can't draw more than 5 people to protest? It's not always been this way. Remember back to the summer of 1968 when the Democratic National Convention invaded Chicago. Protesters by the hundreds attempted to seize control of city streets. So much so that law enforcement fired tear gas to control the crowds. But now, fast forward to 1996, when the Democratic National Convention again took over the Windy City. Protesters at that convention had written agendas, had designated areas, had police protection. As Dave Barry put it, the protests had the same level of radical menace as a haircut. So what's going on here? This nation was built on protests. The Boston Tea Party in 1773, the women's rights marches, the civil rights marches of the 1960s, now reduced to 5 people milling about a healthcare headquartered office. And it's not just this one event. The other event they mentioned here, the one similar to the Court Street one in November, drew 7 people. There were more police officers than protesters. I mean, come on, this is downright insulting to us. But maybe it's not us. Maybe I shouldn't be too concerned about us. Maybe it's the new protesters. Maybe the experienced ones don't want to hang out with the new ones. I know I'm scared of the euthanasia. I mean, they want to kill my grandmother? Okay, I don't know why. My grandmother hasn't done anything to them. And then people who don't realize that Medicare is socialized medicine. So how can I steal from it to create socialized medicine? But it's not just healthcare. Bad protests are happening in other areas. This woman was a teacher in Des Moines, Iowa, and she's retiring. And she's protesting cuts to education in that town. Now, right here, she's saying, and I am just appalled at what's happening to education. As she says this person right here has a sign, this child has a sign saying, "Save our teachers." SAVERETEACHERS. So maybe this woman has good cause to be appalled at what's happening in education. Now, again, maybe it's the new protesters. After all, in college campuses across the country, we have classes on learning from YouTube, philosophy and Star Trek, the art of walking, the science of superheroes, the American Vacation, and Calvin and Hobbes. Maybe we need a class on how to protest. There was a day of protest on May 4th. It was called a Day of Action at college campuses across the country. Unfortunately, at UC Berkeley, ground zero, mind you, for the protests of the 1960s and 1970s against the war, oh man, they just didn't get it right. They embarrassed themselves. The legislature of California voted to increase tuition at University of California campuses by 32%. That should have been enough to galvanize the student body. But still people are showing up trying to protest Obama at the Day of Action. And Take Back NYU in New York, which happened in February, they were even worse. Their demands were for 13 scholarships to students from the Gaza Strip, open an annual report of the school budget, and to ban Coca-Cola from the campus. Now, what's up with that, okay? Not everybody was on the same playbook. But now I don't want you to think that just because these failed and we hear the glory stories of the 1970s and 60s protests, that it was all rosy back then. I had a friend who was at the University of Wisconsin back in the 70s, and when he was protesting against ROTC on campus, he had a big banner and it said, "Rubbish on the campus." That's what ROTC stood for. Well, as he and his friends were carrying that across campus, they got into a very verbal altercation with a grad student who happened to be a Vietnam vet. Well, what a surprise it was at class the next day when the grad student showed up. It was that veteran. It was a very long semester for my friend. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.